welcome to today's episode of Chairman's Chat. I'm Derek Brown with the Utah Republican Party, chairman of the party, and I am really excited today to be here with Matt MacPherson, who is running for House District 31, which is pretty much all in West Valley.
All West Valley.
Right, the entire West Valley. Not entire West Valley, because
Right.
there's a couple other areas, but what area of West Valley is it?
So it's a real long, narrow stretch of West Valley. It goes from 7200 west all the way down past the 215, and just from 3500 south to about Lake Park Boulevard. So it's a long, narrow strip just inside of West Valley.
Fantastic. Well, and we're excited to have someone who's got kind of a unique background and the energy to bring sort of a new spirit to the House, which I think will be a lot of fun. First of all, tell us a little bit about your background. You have a truly explosive company, right? And so tell us a little bit about it. You'll know what I mean here when he describes, because this is kind of cool. I've never met anyone that does what he does, although I've always wondered who does that. So tell our audience what that is.
So sure, but I think what you're referring to, so I'm a businessman. I've run a number of businesses, and one of the businesses I run is in the fireworks
exactly.
Industry. So that has been extremely fun. Last night, not part of my business, just as a side deal, we actually set off a fireworks show for the illumination event up in North Salt Lake area, Syracuse in Davis County. It was it's a teen suicide awareness prevention program, and it was fantastic fireworks show at the end. I suggest you check it out online. But.
That's great. Was it anything like the one at the National Convention last week? Where the fireworks went up and they said Trump. I don't know how they did that. You probably know how they did that.
I do, but it's definitely better than the DNC's fireworks. But the Republican fireworks were very impressive.
I was wondering who's behind the scenes sort of masterminding that whole process. And now I know. So that means during the month of July, you probably don't sleep much.
Yeah,
right?
And usually the couple of weeks after July, it's recovery and relaxation.
That's great. Yeah. So tell us, in terms of campaigning, first of all, we've all sort of adapted to the year 2020 with COVID, and you probably signed up to run for office thinking you'd have a campaign that looked a certain way, only to have it completely changed overnight. How have you adapted? How is your campaign different? And how have you sort of changed to adapt with changing circumstances?
Well, I think COVID's really kind of changed things for everyone. I mean, our whole family, and I'm sure your family, everyone's family, has really had to make a lot of changes in their life with school, with work, with shopping, with having fun. And those changes are things for us in our family, I'll be honest, has actually drawn us closer together, but also has really helped us reprioritize. And I don't think that's been any different with the campaign side. It's just a matter of reprioritizing what it looks like, how we are trying to reach people. Fortunately, technology is great, keeps us all connected today, and we can use that. But people want to get out and stretch their legs still. And so we're trying to get involved with more events where we can get people safely outside and have fun and still get involved.
And you still do the online type meetings and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And as you do that, do you see themes in terms of what people are talking, when people ask you questions? And I've served in the House, so when I first ran, it struck me how I talked to a ton of different people, but they'd all kind of talk about the same 3 or 4 issues. Do you see that as well? I mean, and like, what's the top 1 or 2 issues that you hear from that people want to talk about when you mention that you're running for the House?
I'd have to say, at least in my district, the people I've talked to already, is pretty consistent. I'd say there's probably actually 3 that across the board are pretty even. And I don't think they're much of a surprise. One is definitely on the kind of COVID economy, recovery, lockdown. It's just kind of a general
schools getting back in,
miasma,
masks, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And I think the schools is actually the second one. Education in general. I think the economy and how COVID is affecting the economy and what it's going to look like down the road in the future, and how we're going to recover from it now, in my district is something that's a big deal. And the education side, aside from everyone for the most part being very interested in education, having good education, quality education, there's a lot of uncertainty with the changes and the different procedures they're going through at the school level. And so that's definitely another high anxiety issue. And then in my district in particular, too, there's a lot of concerns about general infrastructure type issues, whether it's roads and waterways, Our area of West Valley has got some older infrastructure, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of anxiety over that, how it's impacting, just general transportation, crime, other things that impact the city. And so those are the areas that I'm seeing
hmm
most of the
And it's good that
response
you
from.
know that, because when you get to the House, you'll be able to advocate in terms of helping sort of maintain that infrastructure. Because sometimes if you have a member of the House that isn't really active or very strong or knows how to work the system, their area isn't represented. And that's why sometimes you see infrastructure that starts kind of getting dilapidated and needs that kind of sort
Yeah,
of
there've
upkeep.
been actually a lot of good changes to the major roadways. We've got the Mountain View corridor going in, which is going to
Sure,
be
sure,
great.
yeah.
A lot of upgrades to the 201 freeway, 4100 South is getting torn up and redone. And these are all good things for the future. Right now, a little painful, but there's other underlying issues as well, not just roads that are causing problems. That we do still have
Yeah.
problems with our roads being parking lots all throughout the city, and
Well,
it makes it
and
difficult.
that's as we head into winter. Sometimes I think we
Yes.
see that all over. What is it that may have surprised you the most? I mean, when you think, like, a lot of people sort of begin a campaign assuming it'll go a certain way, and then you have some surprises that pop up. What, just for fun, what surprised you the most? Anything that's kind of not what you expected?
Well, if I had to put it in simple terms, I'd think that I guess, first of all, just to put it out there again, I love living in West Valley. I think West Valley, sorry if this offends anyone else, is the best city in the state. And I
You
think,
know what? That's the people of West Valley probably want to hear their
well,
next representative say exactly
I
that.
think Utah is the best state in the nation. So, and I think our nation is the best in the world. So, in some ways, I think that we're living in the best place in the entire
hmm
planet. So, with that said, I guess I've been surprised. Maybe surprise isn't the best word. I guess I've been encouraged by the fact that I've met so many people that feel the same way as I do, that West Valley is
It's
just the
great.
best. And I think that's something that's not being represented in our district quite well enough, is that it's not just about representation, it's about
Yeah.
elevating our area and our district to the level that we feel it is in
Mhm.
our hearts.
It's great. I love it. Well, and campaigning, as you found out, is kind of exhausting. It feels kind of relentless, and it's a long. It's like running a marathon, and you're just always running. What have you enjoyed? Like, besides what was surprising, what's your favorite part?
So I've always had involvement just outside of what I've done for a living and now my new foray into politics. I've always enjoyed being involved with my neighbors, my neighborhood, my church, with the different communities like the fire department, police
Sure.
department, local businesses. I'm always trying to be involved with them, get to know people. I'm just that way. And I guess I didn't realize that I had a different idea in my mind, I guess, what politics was. And so I felt happy about the fact that I didn't have to manufacture any sort of, false sort of methodology of how I was going to get out there and meet people and learn how to do things. This is just who I am. I realized that the thing that I found the most exciting was my idea now of community is more than just my neighbors and just my close circle of church friends or business friends. That it includes, more so than that. And I'm excited for the opportunity to kind of represent that feeling across the entire district.
And that's, I mean, when we talk about, being in the House of Representatives, that's really what you're doing, is you're representing, you're taking your area of the state, you're going to the Capitol, and you're saying, and you're basically, well, you're representing 40,000 people as if they were there, because they can't all be there. And to have someone who's that passionate about your area is exactly what folks like that, what they need. So when you go up, if you could sort of list your top issues, pick, like, what's maybe your top issue that you'd like to tackle come this next year? I mean, there's probably a bunch of different things you'd like to tackle, but if you could kind of pick one, what would it be?
So I think that's a interesting question. I think that
It's a hard question too, because I know there's a lot of different things you're probably thinking about.
sure,
But
and across the board, I have feelings and passions in different areas and desires. And I know I've heard from a lot of people that want things done certain ways or changed. But I guess my bottom line is, and it's maybe more of a general sense here, is that I think that our government has a responsibility to do certain things, and we expect that from our government, and they should do those things really, really well. And the things that they shouldn't be necessarily doing for us, That those are the things that we kind of need them to be more out of the way. And my goal into getting into a representation for our district is just to make sure that there aren't any barriers for families, for businesses, for individuals to be successful and happy in our city, based on what either the government is doing or not doing.
That's great. That's great. Well, and one of the most difficult things you can do as a candidate, as you found, is when you have like 30 seconds with someone and they say, "Why should I vote for you?" Because you probably hear that all the time. Why should I vote for you? What is it about you? And you don't have an hour to sit down and talk. You got 30 or 60 seconds. So if you had 30 seconds, kind of as we wrap up now, I mean, kind of make your pitch. Like, what is it? Why Matt? Why is it that Matt is the one that they should vote for?
Okay, let's do this. All right. So I think first and foremost, reiterate, I think West Valley is the greatest city in the state. I think that we deserve not only better representation that we have in our district. I think that when decisions are being made, that we need somebody that's going to be in the room. We need somebody that can be part of the conversation. I don't think we have that right now. I've built a career on making the barriers between people come down day by day, and building relationships and finding solutions to problems. I've got experience in running many successful businesses over the last decade in Utah. I know how to run a budget, manage a budget, live within a budget, but also when to invest in the future. I've got 3 teenage kids in our public schools, so I'm very invested in the quality education that this city and the state provides. And so I'm involved with all of that. And I also believe in the success and the beauty of our city, and I'll fight to represent that in West Valley.
I love it. That's great. I think that's one of the best sort of 30 to 60 second sort of
Did I go
summaries
over
that I've
a little
heard.
more?
It was perfect. It was perfect. And so, well, it's been great to have. We've got Matt MacPherson here with us. In the West Valley area, and we encourage you to vote for Matt. It's great to have, having served in the House of Representatives myself, I can tell you that to have someone who is going to be, to borrow that phrase from Hamilton, in the room where it happens. I mean, it's incredibly important to have someone who's in the room where it happens. To have the fact that you've run a business is huge, because some of the biggest issues we're going to be facing in the next couple of years are getting businesses back up and running, and it helps to have someone who knows what it means to make payroll and understands kind of those dynamics, and to have someone who's a passionate advocate for West Valley. So anyway, we encourage all of you to vote for Matt, and to get online, learn more about him. And anyway, Matt, thank you for being here today on our Chairman's Chat.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us.